Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson, and today we're breaking down the first and second episode of WandaVision. The second episode's breakdown will go up at the same time as this discussion, and will be linked in the description for you if you're interested to see everything we learned about Wanda and Vision's journey so far in the fourth phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The episode begins by showing us the classic Marvel Studios logo quickly turning to black and white in the traditional 4:3 aspect ratio from the days of box TVs, and I have to say it felt so good to hear and see those logos after over a year of no new Marvel content, especially at the beginning of a Disney Plus series, because it shows that Marvel is committed to making the shows as relevant to their universe as their films. Now, we're told in the 1950s style musical intro, which takes inspiration from sitcoms like Bewitched, I Love Lucy, and The Dick Van Dyke Show, that Wanda and Vision have gotten married, have moved out of the big city, and are now starting a quiet life, even though we know for sure that's not true. Last we saw Wanda Maximoff, she was mourning the death of Vision after she helped defeat Thanos, so we know that this happy-go-lucky world she's trying to exist within, with its classic wire, jump cut, and rewinding special effects and real-life studio audience, yes, they actually did that, can't be here for long. Right away, Wanda and Vision joke with one another about their powers, calling out Wanda's ability to move objects with her mind and Vision's vibranium skull. They also joke about how Vision doesn't eat, which seems like a callback to their interaction in Civil War. The refrigerator is also empty, because it shows us that the world that Wanda and Vision are existing within is one that is completely fabricated and isn't real. This is further explored by how they can't seem to remember where they are or how they created this life for themselves.
Well, then tell me what's so important about today's date.
What was the question again?
They don't understand what the heart on their calendar means, so they just decide together that the day is going to be meaningful to them before Vision goes off to work and puts on his glamorous human attire. But that doesn't stop Wanda from continuing to question what August 23rd is meant to mean to her, and that's only continued to be pushed when she meets her neighbor Agnes. Now, while Agnes may seem friendly and supportive, I wouldn't get too attached to her as someone Wanda will actually be able to confide in and be close with throughout this show, because it's very likely that she is the woman who guided Wanda into meddling with her reality. In the comics, Agatha Harkness, whose names can easily be combined to create the name Agnes, is an ancient witch who mentored Wanda for many years and helped reveal to the Scarlet Witch how much power she truly possessed. But when Wanda became destabilized by horrible grief after losing her and Vision's children, which she created in part from the energy of the Marvel devil known as Mephisto, Agatha wiped her mind. So it's possible that part of the reason Wanda is in this television world is because her depression after Endgame and her growing power from training with Agnes led her to have her memory altered. Then in the office, we get a variety of jokes that poke fun at the idea that Vision is a robot and about his lack of understanding of what the company he works for even does. It's just a pencil-pushing job with calculations, but of course that gets forgotten when he keeps pulling his mind back to his night with Wanda. Everything seems to eventually become clear, though, when his boss, Mr. Hart, tells him that he is looking forward to coming over with his wife that night for dinner to see if he's ready for a big promotion.
You got a screw loose?
Oh, no, sir. Screws all tightened, sir.
Once the stakes are set for the dinner, Wanda is shown getting further instructions on how to behave on an intimate date from Agnes, and it's here we more clearly see another connection Agnes has to the comics' Agatha Harkness, her brooch. This small opal was a symbol that frequently appeared with the witch, and as we move forward from the first episode, we will continue to see it carried through the series, further supporting the idea that this woman might have a better grasp of what's happening, even compared to Wanda herself. Soon after the dinner is planned, we are shown a full-blown commercial right in the middle of the episode for a new kitchen device created by Stark Industries, the company that was founded by Howard Stark, which would inevitably be passed to his son Tony. And I have to hand it to Marvel that it's moments like these where you could tell that they are truly willing to go into new directions with their franchise. While there are some who debate about whether or not Marvel movies are even true cinema, and others push the idea that they are getting over superhero stories, I think the commitment to immersing us into these sitcom worlds just shows us how ready the creatives are to break out of what is traditionally expected from their stories. Flash to that night, after Vision is done with work, we see Kitty from that 70s show, I mean Mr. and Mrs. Hart, all arrive at the Maximoff home where Wanda has set a romantic mood. She's trying to get fancy for her metal man, but of course she springs her womanly charms onto the wrong man, which leads into the couple explaining away the unique behavior by pushing it off as a wacky tradition.
The meaning of it is that this is the traditional Sokovian greeting of hospitality. See, I forgot to tell you my wife is from Europe.
This is, of course, a clear reference to Wanda's home country of Sokovia, which was left mostly in ruin after Ultron attempted to use it to bring about mankind's extinction. Through further examination in the kitchen, Wanda and Vision eventually get on the same page about the meaning of the day, much to the couple's dismay, and they try to keep everything under control, even though they continue to barely understand why they are even emotionally committed to everything they are doing.
But the larger purpose of the forms is...
Was to analyze our input and our output. You're awfully dense, aren't you, Bill?
With some assistance from the perfect housewife Agnes to provide some food, Wanda and Vision feverishly attempt to create a stunning home-cooked meal with magic, while they also keep the Harts from seeing what they are up to. A lot of Agnes's advice doesn't land too well, and some of the cooking instructions result in some messed up food, but before the night is completely ruined, Wanda brings out a classic breakfast for dinner, a meal I am truly fond of. Breakfast deserves to be eaten at all times of day. But it's actually here that we get another allusion to the story that is likely a massive influence for WandaVision. The text on the bottle of wine translates to House of Contempt, which more loosely could translate to House of Misery, which is referring to an event in the comics known as the House of M. That is the name of the series where Wanda suffered a mental breakdown and went on a tirade to alter the fabric of reality to recreate her lost children, which seems very in line with a story where Wanda is in an idealistic TV reality after suffering the loss of her parents, her brother, and the love of her life. Once they sit down for dinner, though, that's when everything gets a lot more wild. The Harts quickly begin inquiring about who Wanda and Vision are, and they struggle to figure it out themselves.
Our story.
Yes, what exactly is your story?
But when Mr. Hart escalates the situation and pushes them further, he begins choking on some of his food, and the atmosphere of the show begins to degrade. Instead of a wide shot on the table, we are brought in close to the characters as they are zoomed in on as the tension grows. As Mr. Hart is shown slowly dying, his wife chillingly just repeats to him to stop it. She seems to just be in a loop as Wanda and Vision watch in horror of what is happening. A clock begins to tick as we see the life leaving Mr. Hart, and all of a sudden, Wanda astonishingly breaks away from her role as the wife.
Vision, help him.
Quickly, Vision removes the food from his boss's throat with his powers, and once Mr. Hart stabilizes, the laugh track returns, the 1950s style music comes on, and the show just keeps going on as normal. There are clearly some dark undertones to this world, but those won't be fully shown just yet. Once Wanda and Vision reflect on their days, they begin to talk again about how they don't remember any of the key moments that they believe happened in their relationship and their lives. That's why they decide to have Wanda create rings for them, which completes the marriage aesthetic that they were striving to build. They successfully had established their happy home, but it's not all real. As soon as they kiss and the credits to their show start rolling, we are shown that their program is being watched in some kind of military base where I guess they need a Rodecaster Pro. It's a device I know probably isn't super common, but I know about it because it's commonly used by podcasters and just lets you record audio from multiple microphones. I just thought that was funny to see in what otherwise looks like a place where an intense operation is going on, and is most likely the agent operation we saw in the trailers. But I've explained more about this group in my episode 2 breakdown, which again, I've linked in the description. Overall, I honestly couldn't believe Marvel had somehow found a way to get me to watch what was mostly a traditional 1950s era sitcom that had no action or intense backstory or classic Marvel humor. It's a massive departure from what we've seen before from Marvel Studios, and while there were some parts of the first episode that didn't necessarily keep me gripped at every turn, when the tension grew and we were pulled out of Wanda and Vision's fake reality, I was absolutely on the edge of my seat, and I've got a feeling that we are going to be brought on one wild, intense, and fascinating journey throughout this show. WandaVision, I think, is the perfect start of a new age for Marvel. But what did you think of the first episode? Let me know down below, and also make sure to subscribe and click the beautiful bell if you're new, and then click on another magical video in the description or on the screen. Finally, as always, thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thanks for watching, and have a magical day.